even though you may be an inactive, host, somebody who has it but it doesn't feel the symptoms, or even maybe you're taking on, somebody else has it, you're interacting with them, you're taking it on, then you're spreading it to other people as well. So a Muslim, our responsibility is protection. This is part of our identity, it's part of who we are, that we protect each other from ourselves first and foremost. We have a responsibility from ourselves to protect other people. And there's also other hadiths where the Prophet ﷺ said, "La darara wa la dirar," that there is no harm, right? There should be no harm done, and there should be no reciprocating of any harm. Which means that there's some bad and harm that is there, a Muslim should not be the one who is giving it or taking it. Right? So la darara wa la dirar. So you put all of these things in consideration, and also the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, "La yuridu muridun ala musih." This is a hadith that I mentioned in the last khutbah that I gave, that even though this one narration is referring to animals, that the healthy and the sick animals should not be mixed, but another narration is also referring to human beings, that people, those who are sick and those who are healthy, should not be mixing, and they should not be intermingling. So keeping all these hadiths in consideration, we see that isolation, self-isolation, and quarantining a person, yourself and your family, this is something that is actually Islamic. It is encouraged in Islam. It is part of the identity of a Muslim that he should want the betterment and the safety of not just himself, but everyone around him as well. And that's why putting ourselves in this quarantine is actually a good thing and a positive thing. And it's not against our Sharia, it's not against our Islam. Now there's an interesting hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is where Aisha radiallahu anha, she asked the Prophet ﷺ, "Sa'altu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam an-ta'un, fa'akhbaraha an-nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam." So she asked him about, being in these types of, in a plague situation or a pandemic situation. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned, أَنَّهُ كَانَ عَذَابًا يَبْعَثُهُ اللَّهُ عَلَى مَنْ يَشَاءُ. That this is a punishment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends upon whoever He wishes. فَجَعَلَهُ اللَّهُ رَحْمَةً لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. But it is a mercy. If a Muslim is affected by a virus or the sickness or a plague, then this is a mercy for the believer. فَلَيْسَ مِنْ عَبْدٍ يَقْرَأُ طَاعُونَ فَيَمْكُثُ فِي بَلَدِهِ صَابِرًا يَعْلَمُ أَنَّهُ لَنْ يُصِيبَهُ إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَهُ إِلَّا كَانَ لَهُ مِثْلُ أَجْرِ الشَّهِيدِ. SubhanAllah. So the Prophet ﷺ here is saying that none of the believers remains patient in a land where the plague has broken out and considers that nothing will harm him or befall him except for whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant him the reward of a shaheed. Right? So it's a mercy whether you are affected, and it's a mercy even if you are not affected. Now let me clarify this. Some people may not understand what this hadith is saying. So, according to Hafiz ibn al-Mulaqqin, he says that وَحَدِيثُ عَائِشَةُ اللَّهُ عَنْهَا الْمُرَادُ بِهِ مَا لَمْ يُمُتْ مِنْهُ. Right? أَمَّا مَنْ مَاتَ مِنْهُ فَهُوَ الشَّهِيدُ الْجَزْمِ. That the hadith, the reward of being a shaheed, this is for that person who survives the plague. So if you survive, you're alive, you're not affected, and you went through it, you're patient, and you obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you prayed, you kept yourself safe, you kept other people safe, then you get the reward of a shaheed. If you survived. Right? And Hafiz ibn Hajar, he said the exact same thing in his Fath al-Bari. He explained it that a person who survived, that this hadith is specifically for that person who survives. So imagine that, all of us in this situation, and we're scared, we're fearful, but the fact that we're in this situation, the fact that we're doing what we're doing, we will be getting the reward of a shaheed. You wouldn't get that by doing your normal practicing, by coming to the masjid. You don't even get that reward by doing that, but because you're patient, and this is an extraordinary circumstance. This is not a normal circumstance. And even then, you stay on the right path, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. And that's what the Prophet mentioned. إِنَّ عِظْمَ الْجَزَاءَ مَا عِظْمَ الْبَلَاءِ وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ إِذَا حَبَّ قَوْمًا ابْتَلَاهُمْ فَمَنْ رَضِيَ لَهُ الرِّضَى وَمَنْ سَخِطَ لَهُ السَّخْطَ. So that the reward comes with a greater trial. So the more hardship you go to, the more reward you get. And indeed, when Allah loves somebody, when Allah loves a group of people, He subjects them to trials and tribulations. He subjects them to hardships and difficulties. So whoever is content, then for him is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whoever is discontent, who is not happy with this, then for them is the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And subhanAllah, I'm sure, like I said, financially a lot of people are struggling. But if you are struggling, by the way, we've sent out many emails and we've sent messages on Facebook. If you're going through some hardship and difficulty, remember, Islamic Center Northridge here is to help. We're here to help you. We may not be able to pay your rent, but we can take on a bulk of your groceries. So if you're having trouble buying your groceries, taking care of them, we have many halal meat shops that we have spoken to, and they're willing to help you out. Let me know, please email me. I'll put my email in the link, inshallah, and we will help you out, whatever you need. At least that's a big expense that we want to handle and take away from you. That way you can focus on just at least focusing on your rent and your other bills. So inshallah, if anybody is in that situation, please inshallah don't hesitate to email me, and I'll help you out inshallah. So now with all this reward, now what happens with us, that those people who are, now we understood that how we proceed as a Muslim, we perceive the situation in a way where we know this is something positive. It is a means of purging, it is a means of building and make ourselves better people. So that it's an opportunity, in other words. We also know that it's important that as believers, we should be quarantining ourselves, we should be self-isolating to protect other people from our harm. Not only that, by doing that, by following these guidelines, we're getting the reward of a shaheed. Right? And the greater the suffering, the greater the reward. So what more can we really ask for? So now, but still there are some people who may be thinking to themselves that, I used to go to the masjid all the time, and I'm losing out on the reward. I used to go to the masjid, I used to, help out these people, I used to do all these things that used to give me reward, and I can't do these things anymore. What about that? Because I know, especially with the masjid is a very sensitive issue. People are very, very affected by that. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned in Hadith Sahih Bukhari, إِذَا مَرِضَ الْعَبْدُ أَوْ سَافَرًا كُتِبَ لَهُ مِثْلُ مَا كَانَ يَعْمَلُ مُقِيمًا صَحِيحًا. That if a person is traveling, or if a person is sick, whatever that person used to do, the good things that person did, he will still get the same reward even though he's not doing it. So just because you're not able to come to the masjid 5 times a day, doesn't mean you're not getting the reward for it. You're still getting reward for it. But by following this quarantine, not only are you getting the reward of everything that you used to do, but you're also getting the reward of a shaheed. What more can you ask for? What better thing is there for a person to get the reward that you don't have to do an action. You're not doing the amal, you're not doing the deed, but you're still getting rewarded for it. And on top of that, there's a bonus. Really how merciful is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this situation, what we should be doing in our homes, we should be establishing some sort of structure in a way that, just like our children right now, we don't just let them off the hook. We make sure they're doing their homework, all the different topics, their math, their English, their science. We have a schedule for them. So we should be doing the same thing, observing a schedule in the same way. And not only should we be observing a schedule, but just like you pray 5 times a day in the masjid, there's adhan, there's iqamah, there's a salah, we should also try our best to do that in our own homes as well. We should try to establish a place in our home where we're doing that. And like I mentioned in the beginning, this is an opportunity. For children, this is a perfect opportunity to memorize more Quran, to read more Quran, right? Most of the masajid and the Quran classes are now online. Everybody is doing it, so there's no excuse really. Everybody's teaching online, so read more Quran, memorize more Quran. Yeah, you're still doing homework, but guess what? It's spring break, right? So not a lot of you don't even have that schoolwork anymore. So now you have extra time. Use that. As adults, we should do the same thing. Many of us who don't know how to read the Quran properly, alhamdulillah, we have weekly Quran classes, bi-weekly, actually twice a week we have Quran classes for adults. Right, on Zoom, again, I'll share the link. You can follow through. So there are a lot of things that we should be doing, and our days should be structured. Just like outside of this quarantine, our days were structured. We should keep it structured, likewise here as well. And I'll conclude with one last thing. Don't forget your neighbors. Don't forget the people around you. And a lot of people who are suffering, they need help. Just because you're quarantined doesn't mean you can't help. And same thing with your masjid. Your masjid may be closed, but we still need a masjid to come back to. When this is all over, the masjid needs to run. All right, the Islamic schools need to run. So please support them by donating online. Make sure you check up on your neighbors. You can still call. It's not, you're not going to get the virus through making a phone call or checking up someone online. Just check up on your neighbors. Make sure everyone is doing well. The more we help now, again, this is where our test is. People, when the masjid was being closed and Jummah was being postponed, people were so angry because they thought this is a test of their iman. No, your iman is going to be tested now. How do you behave? Do you just close yourself off from the rest of the world and only think about yourself, or do you now care about other people? Because if you now begin to care about other people, then be sure Allah will take care of you, and Allah will take care of your need. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and save us and protect us from this sickness, from this disease. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable all of us to whatever hardship and difficulty we're going through. May Allah make it up and give us something even better at the end of all of this. Jazakallahu Khaira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.